Oh well, this is what's going on. Half of the building is cold. Well, no wonder. Look at that. Wow. What do we have to go through? And I don't even know if there's gonna be leaks up there too, because I don't think the water has gone. It's too low. I used to put water in the system. I don't think the water has gone any higher than around here. I don't even know if there's a leak. There will be leaks up there as well. But there's a lot of leaks going on. This coil is pretty bad, really bad shape. Wow. What's going on, guys? So today's another morning, and I'm back over here in this building. If you watch the latest video that I post about this building, and they were complaining that some areas were hot, cold, and I came and I found one of the air handlers that was completely off manually. Well, that fixed the areas that were cold. I mean hot, not cold, hot. But those areas that were cold or overcooling, were still giving me issues. So today, this morning, I found this yesterday, but I didn't have enough time to come pinpoint where the issue is, or I must say leak, where the leak is, because I found the leak yesterday, but I couldn't pinpoint because by the time I got to the roof, it wasn't leaking anymore. So today I had help. I have a guy on the first floor while I'm over here on the roof. This is a 5-story building, to see where the leak is. And I found it. And it's a mess. The whole hot water coil busted. And I think this happened in the last freeze that we had back in December somehow. And that was before Christmas when it happened, the freeze. And somehow they just reported, well, they didn't report a leak. They just found, I was talking with the person in charge of this building, and they said that there was some ceiling tiles that fell down in that room, and there was water, but it wasn't leaking anymore. So whoever came didn't care to check where that water was coming from and left because it wasn't leaking anymore. So they didn't even come to the roof. I'm pretty sure they didn't. And the building was left without heating. Now the first floor was doing okay. Some of the rooms, not all of them, some of the rooms. And I had hot water in some of the rooms in the first floor. But second floor too, I had some rooms that had hot water, but some were struggling. And then third, fourth, and fifth were really struggling, especially fifth. Fifth was completely cold, freezing. We're talking about 60, 58 degrees inside that room. So everybody was freezing there. I'm still freezing because I still haven't fill up the system. I just shut off the valves, and we're gonna start filling it up after isolating this coil. And hopefully there isn't any other coil in the higher level rooftops that might be leaking too. So once we fill up the system and that water start going to those air handlers that are up there in a higher level, if there's a leak, they're gonna start leaking too. So hopefully this is gonna be the only air handler that will be leaking. It's bad. You will see in the video how bad it is. But yeah, that was giving me some the issue of where these rooms were overcooling. Finally, I was able to find the reason that was happening. If they would have gave me that information from the very beginning, that there was a leak some weeks ago, I could have had a better idea instead of having to go through all this troubleshooting or diagnostic or whatever you want to call it, trying to find out the reason. Some rooms down on the first floor and second floor are heating and have hot water, and some on the fifth floor and third, fourth, and fifth floor are not heating, especially the fifth floor is completely cold. I wouldn't have to go through all the struggle of looking on the computer, trying to find if my controls were acting up or they were doing what it's supposed to. Have to open ceiling tiles, make sure the valves were opening. I went through a whole headache until I finally said, you know what, let me go check my hot water, and I see that all my rooftop units didn't have any water in the system. I'm like, man, I don't have water in the upper levels. So I went down there, I put some water in the system, and then they reported a room that was leaking, and it was basically the water from this air handler going into a couple of rooms in the building. So it's pretty bad. It's a whole mess. So I'm gonna report this. I'm gonna isolate this, fill up the system, and hopefully there's no more leaks on the upper level rooftop units up there. I don't know how it's gonna go, but these are some of the issues you can encounter if you heat up the building with hot water, and your first floor, your second floor are doing. Some rooms might be doing okay. You go touch the pipe where the coil is at the VAV box, and you might feel that there is hot water, and your boiler is running. But your boiler, some things that your boiler will do is you will be at a place like right now we're in the 30s, high 30s over here on Houston. Actually, it was in the low 30s because the roof was frozen. I had a frozen ice on the roof. It can happen that you have these type of temperatures in a 5-story building, and your boiler will be running at 20% capacity, 10% capacity, because that was happening actually here, and I saw that, and I didn't like it. But I never thought that it was because I didn't have water. I was thinking maybe my system, my controls are not working, and my valves at the coils and the VAV boxes are not opening, and that's why I don't have that much load in the system, and that's why my boiler is running only at that capacity. But no, it wasn't that. It was because there wasn't enough water, and my boiler was heating that water on the first floor and second floor fast enough because I didn't have the good pressure on the pipes. So that reason I didn't have good circulating water. So the boiler will stay at a low capacity. You will see that happening in your boiler when your water is low. That it makes no sense, that it's super cold outside, the rooms are extremely cold, and your boiler is only running at 10% capacity. You can encounter that. So some of the things that you want to check is making sure you have enough water in your system. Hot water. Right now we're talking about boilers, we're talking about heating. Same perspectives will go to chiller as well, chill water, cold water. But right now we're talking about boilers, hot water. So make sure you got enough water in the system, especially when you see some lower levels heating, but your upper levels are not heating. All right, so I wanted to show you this so you can have a better idea what a VAV box is and how it affects that leak on the rooftop unit affected. Some of you are familiar with this. Some might not be familiar. This is this is what is DDC. Okay, monitor. This is how we can see and even do some diagnostic on some of the units. This information here helps you a lot. So, anyways, this is not the building, and this is not the program that building has neither. The reason I'm not showing you a live view of that building right now, because the network for those controllers is down right now, unfortunately, and it's been down for 3 days. and I don't know how long it's gonna take for it to come back up. Anyways, so this is the VAV box. You get your air supply through here from your air handler. You return from the building itself. Your blower, your heating coil that provides heat to the room, and your air supply. Anyways, I want to speak specifically about the hot water coil over here. On that building is the same thing. You have a hot water coil in that VAV box. No electric heating, it's hot water coil. So what happened is the fifth floor was extremely cold. All those rooms were like in the low 60. I even have a couple of rooms that were rated 58, 59 degrees space temperature. Because I didn't have heat at all. Not in the rooftops, neither in the VAV boxes. Why? Because the lowest leak that I found was at the roof of the fourth floor. Basically was on top of the fourth floor. That's where the air handler is. The lowest leak that I had was on that level. So my fifth floor was empty. All these coils that the fifth floor had for heating were empty. They didn't have any water. All my RTUs or rooftop units, air handler units, however you want to call them, didn't have hot water. So I wasn't giving any heating to those rooms. The fourth floor, it was not keeping up. It wasn't heating, but the temperatures weren't as low as the fifth floor. They were in the 66, 65, but not 60, 58, 59 like the fifth floor. Because I guess in the fourth floor, I still had a little bit of water, of hot water. But anyways, that's why my building was struggling, because these coils weren't getting enough water from the boiler because I was low on hot water. And that was my main issue. Once we isolated both of the units that were leaking and we filled up the system, all my set points started reaching up. All my air supplies were getting higher, and my space temperature, like I said, were getting to where the set points were. So the building started looking much, much better after we isolated those coils. They're gonna give repair. We're not gonna do them. They're gonna contract that. But yeah, that was the main issue that was happening. And it's really important for those coils to get like I was explaining, hot water during the freeze temperature, so they won't bust like they did. They won't break like they did. They won't freeze and end up breaking. But I hope this information helps you to get a better idea of what happened, and thank you for watching the video. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe, and I really appreciate your support. Have a nice and blessed day.